Okay, so now we're ready to print and print our drawing. So we've got our sheet done up. However, I just want to point out one little thing before I go any further, and it's something really that should be done at the start before you kind of set up your sheet and do any there. That's jumping around me, my mouse, a little bit oversensitive. So I just want to point out one little thing before we kind of start into it. So if I go ahead and try and plot this, watch what happens. Up comes this warning telling me that the Samsung ML4600 the plotter configuration cannot be used for one of the following reasons. Can't find the driver, can't find the device, or the driver has a problem. And it's saying the non-plot device has been substituted. So basically in our reason here for this popping up is that it cannot find the device because I don't have a Samsung ML4600 plotter. So when I click OK, you'll see that it actually, in here in the printer plotter name, it's actually substituted none. It basically has no plotter device, and it's up to me now to set the plotter. So probably will be the same as you unless you have a Samsung 4600. So you have to come in here and set up your HB DeskJet and do all this setup now and set up your landscape and make sure 1-to-1 is right and the layout and so on. You have to come in and do all the setup every single time. If I cancel that, so that every time I come in to do plot, that's going to pop up every single time, even if I kind of set it, because it'll just default back to the non-plot device. So what you've got to do is, if you right click on layout 1 and instead of going to plot, go to page setup manager, and under layout 1 make sure layout 1 is highlighted, select modify. You're still getting this one up because we haven't changed it just yet, so it's still telling me that it can't find that plotter printer. Pop in here and under the non-plot device select the printer you have on your system. So in this case with me it's the 1280. I've got my paper size. You can see there's very little for me to kind of do down here. Paper size A4, that's what I'm printing out. I can do an A3 on this or other size. A4 and A3 is all I really ever need to do on this particular printer. What am I going to plot? Well, I'm going to plot the layout, so that little white sheet area is what I'm going to plot out. And it's going to be a scale of 1-to-1 because it's an A4 and I wanted to print out A4 size. So my printer's well fit to take an A4, so happy days. Then the only other choice you would have is really portrait or landscape. We'll talk about the plot style table in my next little clip, but for now that's basically it, and I can do a preview of that and just see that everything's fine and dandy and hunky-dory. So I right click and I can exit that and click OK on that. So make sure you click OK on that, and that's your page setup, and close. And now every time I right click on that and if I went into plot, it goes straight in and it's ready to start plotting. I can enter in the number of copies or whatever. So I'm kind of set up. And that's something you'd want to do, because if you were to copy that layout down, so if I look down, my next sheet is layout 2, if I right click on that and delete that, and if I was to copy down, move a copy and create a copy, move to end, click OK, and now I've got a copy of layout 1 down there. Then I can kind of come in here and turn on the viewports, and I can decide, well, I don't want any of that stuff on it, but I might want to increase that viewport and do unlock that view. Maybe I want an enlarged view of this top area. So now I go there and 50. So maybe I want 150 of that. So I kind of very quickly got another layout of another area of the drawing. So I've got two sort of layouts done. One showing the overall with zoomed in areas. The next layout has this next bit. You can show in very quickly, kind of create quite a few layouts, if you like, a few sheets that you can print out of all the different areas that you require, and it's an enlarged view if you like as well, so you're not working from that sort of zoomed out view all the time. So very quickly you can kind of create a few copies. However, if I hadn't set my page setup manager right when I went into plot, I'd get that little warning saying none plot device, and that would soon become annoying if I had to do that again and again. Okay, so the page setup manager is the first thing you should do on your drawing. And just while I'm there, so I can come in here and I can rename this one. Oops. So maybe I call this office 2201 and 2202. So you can kind of rename them like that as well. Okay. So it's quite easy to create multiple copies of these, and that's typical of the exam as well. You'll be asked to do something similar in the exam, where you're asked to create lots of new layouts, if you like. But it's that simple. It looks like it's a major part at the end of the exam, where you've got 5 or 6 pages covering these little bit. But hopefully you'll kind of see that if you get used to doing that, creating new copies, that it's really only a couple of minutes work on each one at the end. The main part is actually doing the main drawing, and doing these layouts. Hopefully you can see from me creating that isn't that overly difficult, just to create an enlarged view to a specific scale, not too much to it. And we can kind of turn off the viewports again, and we've got a couple of drawings done very quickly and very easily. Okay.